Yeah. 24.
At least not.
The 24 room is at the everything is really good.
Probably working on it.
But it's 5 is my good at sports. I mean,
She's good.
money is a lot tighter. Yeah.
Great personality.
5 is like a bit breathing room, but it's not like she take a lot.
So that's
Yeah, and just generally supportive. Like when I always had stories that I had, like out of the world, stars like and I can find it. I mean, find it is more just
national.
yeah, all the bad things. Oh well, but the longer the line, the naturally more separation is going to create between the subject and the background. So yeah, I'd say 35. 35 is good. It's a big your life when you get into it.
He was the I know that was in the Mark, how's he going? You just stayed in the area?
Yeah, but the film itself is
Film's very offensive.
yeah. It's acceptable.
Yeah,
But the film adds up.
We're going down to acres up.
Really 30.
But it's
One of those No, there is, well, once they said that there was a nationwide search warrant, it's like we knew, okay, there's some kind of charge and complaint, so we would try to seek it in.
Okay.
We were told it was under seal.
Got it.
Okay, but then once they, you figured that the seal had to do with there was no arrest.
Okay.
So once the arrest happened, we just started pinging people to see if we could get it.
Okay. Okay, cool.
There is like,
Yeah.
shot seal.
Is this the complaint? Oh, this is just, okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, that.
I'm so sorry.
I want to start by expressing our deepest condolences to all who loved Melissa and Mark Hortman. They were parents, neighbors, and friends. Their loss is felt deeply by the people who knew and loved them. This act of political violence is deeply felt across our state and across the country. We also want to again express our thoughts and support to State Senator John Hoffman, his wife Yvette, and their daughter. Our office will be here to support you and your family as we pursue justice and to help with whatever support you need. I want to thank the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, the Brooklyn Park Police Department, and the hundreds of local, state, and federal law enforcement officers who worked tirelessly to apprehend Vance Bolter. People were understandably terrified over the last several days, and the state owes you a debt of gratitude for all of your swift work. I want to specifically thank the Brooklyn Park police officer whose proactive intervention in checking on the Hortmans likely stopped further bloodshed. I also want to thank the members of our office who worked all weekend with our law enforcement partners in this case. And I want to thank the medical team who provided emergency care to the Hoffmans. Although police have made an arrest, the investigation is ongoing, and so I'm limited in what I can share about it. On Saturday, our office filed charges against Mr. Bolton for second-degree murder and attempted murder, allowing us to obtain a nationwide arrest warrant which would allow law enforcement across the country to arrest him. These are the highest charges we can file by complaint, and it needed to be done quickly to get the warrant out. Mr. Bolter was taken into state custody, and our office intends to pursue first-degree murder charges against Mr. Bolter. We are at early stages. We will be reviewing all of the evidence from law enforcement as it comes in and working with our law enforcement partners to develop the case. I do want people to know that given the scale of this investigation, the review of evidence will take time. I want to assure our community and all those who are grieving that we will seek justice and accountability for the victims of all these heinous crimes. Our most senior and experienced prosecutors are handling this case. Because this case is now an active prosecution, that is all I will say about the case itself. It is a frightening time we are living in. Political violence is prevalent, and the way we talk to and about each other has raised the temperature to unfathomable levels. We cannot continue on this way. In times of tragedy, but also every day, as we navigate our daily lives, we need to find ways to support one another. As our community grieves, I encourage those out there seeking to create additional chaos to stop spreading misinformation and conspiracy theories. Our law enforcement partners are building a case using facts and evidence to ensure Vance Bolter is held accountable. Again, I want to thank everyone who helped bring this search to a resolution, and again to express our grief, condolences, and support to the Hortman and Hoffman families.
Good morning. I'm Dewana Witt, Sheriff of Hennepin County. I want to begin by expressing my deepest condolences to all those impacted by the unspeakable tragedy, especially to the families. I stand here with immense gratitude to the law enforcement agencies who responded with speed, strength, and commitment to justice and public safety. Thank you to the Brooklyn Park Police Department and the Champlin Police Department. Hennepin County is proud to have your team serve in our community as we grieve with you. Thank you to all the local, state, and federal agencies. Hundreds of first responders came together to bring justice to an unthinkable act of violence. Our mission was clear: protect the public, prevent further harm, and hold the perpetrator accountable. We all shared a singular goal: justice rooted in public safety. Vance Bolter inflicted unimaginable harm to our community Saturday morning, and he did it while impersonating the very people who are trusted to protect and serve. These violent acts strike at the heart of our democracy and the safety of those who serve the public with dedication and courage. Our hearts go out to Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark, their families, and their loved ones. We are also grateful Senator Hoffman and his wife Yvette are expected to recover, and we will be here to support them during their long journey of healing and grief. Today, the manhunt is over, but the investigation continues, and more importantly, the process to healing begins. We also need to mention that we know that this unspeakable act has left residual effects on many people in our communities, as we're still taking calls from people and organizations asking for additional resources. We grieve with those close to our victims, our families, and all community members. The last days have revealed the true strength of our unity both as a community and as law enforcement bound by a shared mission to protect and serve. We stand together today to uphold the principles of our democracy and with the continued commitment to safety and security of those we vow to protect and serve. Thank you.
We also have Drew Evans from the BCA, Chief Mark Bruley from Brooklyn Park will stand for questions.
Superintendent Evans, just curious, we were with you last night. In hindsight overnight, did the defendant give us any indication, any comments, anything you can share publicly about his mode of cooperation with authorities?
Yeah.
He made a decision to not take his own life at this moment, so I'm curious.
Yeah, so the question was related to whether or not there's cooperation. The individual, we can't provide a lot because it's now under the prosecutorial process in terms of what cooperation was. What I will tell you is that since he's been in custody, that starts the process, as the county attorney mentioned and the sheriff mentioned, of the ongoing investigation. And so what that does, there's a number of steps that went with that, regardless of the level of cooperation of the individual. Now that we have him in custody, it opens up additional investigative avenues that we'll be all working together collectively with to gather the information and evidence in this case.
Can you give us any additional details on how the final moments unfolded, how you tracked him, and you mentioned last night him crawling. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So it was mentioned the final moments of when he was taken into custody. As we mentioned yesterday, we had a extremely large law enforcement presence with dozens of investigative agencies and law enforcement and SWAT teams in the area because we believed he was in that area. We received information to begin with, a vehicle that was recovered that first led us to the Sibley County area, and that's what's concentrated our search in that area. We then received additional information that provided confirmation closer to the time of the actual arrest that he was in fact in that area, which is which time the command post started moving all of the law enforcement assets into that area, and they were able to close in. And when we say he was crawling towards us, these were in response to the commands by the SWAT teams that were on scene as they were working in coordination with each other, along with our State Patrol air assets as they looked and were able to get over him and then came into custody. He was cooperative and cooperated with law enforcement and gave up peacefully at that time.
Will he say how charged?
This is again, as we said, the real work of the investigation now begins. They've been working collectively, and I want to thank the Hennepin County Attorney's Office and Mike Radmer, who's with us today, who worked really with our team all weekend long, along with others across their office and the United States Attorney's Office, to be working together on that. What I will say when it comes to his wife and anybody else, if anybody else participated in these crimes, if anybody else worked to hide him and provide assistance in getting away, that will certainly be something that we are looking at with that, and we will provide that information to our prosecutors that will analyze and determine whether or not additional charges are appropriate.
Can you tell us how long you negotiated with him until he surrendered?
Yeah, so it was, I don't have the specifics. The question is, how long did we negotiate with him? It was a relatively short period of time because they were moving in and he was cooperative. So it wasn't a prolonged negotiation with him. It was more that they converged on him. And because of the extremely good coordination and what they're doing, I believe he's certainly in a position where he just had to give up because he knew he was surrounded by who was there.
And Mary, I have a question. I know we're going to hear shortly from
So-
federal prosecutors.
Yeah, so if I could just say, I think, as Drew said, we've shifted into prosecution right now. And so I understand why it was important to get information out there to the public, because there was a person who is suspected of these murders. Right now, what everybody up here is trying to do is to protect the integrity of the investigation. And so I know there's a tension. I know people want information, and right now we're really trying to focus on the investigation so that we don't have all kinds of information out there, so that as law enforcement gathers that information, if we need to present it in court, there's integrity there. So I know you all have questions, but that's the reason we're really focusing on not sharing some information. Yes, Paul?
And I have a legal question.
Of course.
Here shortly from
Yes.
federal prosecutors. I heard
Yes.
some attorneys pontificating on the morning news, and if the feds take this, it could be a death penalty case. I don't know the specifics there. But what are we going to hear today from across the street? And do you want this case in your jurisdiction in Hennepin County?
So I know that the feds are going to make an announcement, and so they can speak for themselves. What I can assure our community is that we have filed charges. As you know, we intend to seek first-degree murder charges here. The penalty for that would be life without parole. So we intend to go forward on this case because we are accountable to protect our community and hold people who commit crimes in this county accountable.
Is the prosecution being coordinated between the two offices?
Well, so as Drew said, there was plenty of coordination on finding him, and all law enforcement, the sheriff, Brooklyn Park, BCA, FBI, coordinated together to locate him. We certainly have been in conversation with the U.S. Attorney, and as I said, I think they're probably best able to answer questions.
Is he doing the first appearance here, or is it going to be in federal court in St. Paul?
Well, what would happen typically is that he would make a first appearance in state court here at 1:30. We have been told that the feds were going to pick him up at 10, and then the feds can answer other questions about that. Thank you so much.
He must do. Is he making an